Yes, never play to the gallery. I think, but you never learn that until much later on, I think. But never work for other people at what you do. Always remember that the reason that you initially started working was that there was something inside yourself that you felt that if you could manifest it in some way, you would understand more about yourself and how you coexist with the rest of society. And I think it's terribly dangerous for an artist to fulfill other people's expectations. I think they generally produce their worst work when they do that. And if the other thing I would say is that if you feel safe in the area that you're working in, you're not working in the right area. Always go a little further into the water than you feel you're capable of being in. Go a little bit out of your depth. And when you don't feel that your feet are quite touching the bottom, you're just about in the right place to do something exciting.
There's a starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds.
What did David Bowie think about David Bowie?
Well, all right. I find that I'm a person who can take on the guises of different people that I meet. I can switch accents in seconds of meeting somebody, and I can adopt their accent. I've always found that I collect. I'm a collector. And I've always just seemed to collect personalities, ideas. I have a hodgepodge philosophy, which really is very minimal. Very
Do you believe in God?
What?
Do you believe in God?
I believe in an energy form, but I'm not. I wouldn't like to put a name to it.
Do you indulge in any form of worship?
Life. I love life very much indeed.
Very much a child and product of the early 60s. It seemed to me to be terribly exciting and maybe kind of glamorous to be a commercial artist. That's what I kind of thought I wanted to do when I was 12. I thought it must be, because I was impressed with things like the father in Dennis the Menace, who had those check jackets and the big glasses on, and the crew cut. That was a very hip look then, you know, to anybody in Britain. I don't think it was in America. But at the time I thought, that's Madison Avenue, you know, that's advertising, that's the place to be.
And I said, do you still consider yourself a rocker? You said you never considered yourself a rocker.
No, it's something to do with the vaudeville tradition of English music hall. And I think that a lot of us co-opted rock as being our means of expressing a more theatrical side to what we wanted to do. A lot of us came out of art school. And I think that had some bearing on the visual side of rock music. I think the difference that most artists have, the ones that I come across, we tend to think our opinions are a lot more important than other people's in some way. That often we feel as though we have the key to something. I don't think that we do at all. I just think we dwell on it more. We tend to look at the world as some usable substance more than a non-artist would. I think for many people, just getting through life is enough. That's a big enough task, let alone having to look at the world and the universe and say, now, if I have my way, it's going to affect me, whether I like it or not. I'm going to be pained by the people that don't like it, and I'm going to be bolstered by people who do like it. What it won't do is change the way that I work, which is probably the most important thing. But whatever I hear, and people will insist on sending me any criticism, I'll get over it fairly quickly. I'm not thick-skinned, but I'm not thin-skinned either. But I've gotten used to the fact that you just can't please all the people all the time. I've got no great desire to be loved in a major way by faceless, anonymous crowds. It's not part of something that I want. Yes, never play to the gallery. I think, but you never learn that until much later on, I think. But never work for other people at what you do. Always remember that the reason that you initially started working was that there was something inside yourself that you felt that if you could manifest it in some way, you would understand more about yourself and how you coexist with the rest of society. And I think it's terribly dangerous for an artist to fulfill other people's expectations. I think they generally produce their worst work when they do that. And the other thing I would say is that if you feel safe in the area that you're working in, you're not working in the right area. Always go a little further into the water than you feel you're capable of being in. Go a little bit out of your depth. And when you don't feel that your feet are quite touching the bottom, you're just about in the right place to do something exciting.
I'll never forget when last you were here, you were saying that the only people in the music business now, in your opinion, who were being truly creative were the rappers.
Yes, I believe that's so.
Do you think most others have just sold out to commercialism?
Well, it's not that so
problem?
much. I don't think that it's that so much. I think that the white generation have come of age. In fact, they're part of the administration now. They're people that brought rock and roll to us in its white form. I think that the quality and the significance of the social message has moved very much fundamentally to the black and Hispanic market now. And that's where the new force of music is coming from. White music is as fragmented as society is itself, and it seems to be reflecting that sense of chaos and fragmentation. Whereas with black music, there is a very strong social point to make. There's a means of discovery and a purpose. Well, I suppose since I stopped doing drugs and drinking, I think probably I really prize getting up early in the morning, which is something that happens. I now find, for years now, I've gotten up regularly at 6 in the morning. It doesn't matter what time I go to bed, I still get up, which is not a great thing actually when I'm rehearsing, because you rehearse pretty late, but I still get up at 6. I enjoyed the fact of seeing the light come up with me and then utilising the daylight and what it brings and the kind of message that it brings. It's a different message from when you're living in twilight hours, and things get very symbolic representationally. If you live through the twilight hours and the early hours of the morning, there's a shadow to your life all the time. Psychologically, you're in the dark as well as physically in the dark. And it's something that I find very uplifting and optimistic and creative about working and being very much in the daylight. If I found myself in some kind of cul-de-sac in the music, I'd break down the problem by actually painting it. I'd try and visualize what the problem was, that the sense of these textures were grating against each other in a way that wasn't admirable. And I'd try and visualize those textures and paint them and then find out what was wrong. And then when I'd solve that problem, I'd take it back into the studio. I'd never really compartmentalize things. Everything for me is just this flux of doing stuff. Some of it's music and some of it's visual. And the two have always been very entwined.
Do you think in part two the dollars have gotten so enormous that they wind up being a motivating factor and somewhat of a governor on one's desire to take a chance?
I think most new bands really are working out there for their music more than anything else. I really like to believe that anyway. I don't. It's nice to think that, I guess, to be cynical about it, that it's a good career opportunity for young people, but I don't think it is. I think everybody who picks up a guitar or puts pen to paper has something in his system, in himself, that he wants to express to others and have them understand him.
And your creativity, you can tell when that creativity is right by the amount of struggle you put into it?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. If I don't put my all into something that I'm writing, I inevitably feel regrets about it.
Family.
Yes.
And knowing your background, you have always resisted any notion that this creativity that you have comes from any sort of dysfunctional or madness out of family.
I think I've often wondered if actually being an artist in any way, any nature, is a kind of a sign of a certain kind of dysfunction, a social dysfunctionalism anyway. It's an extraordinary thing to want to do, to express yourself in such rarefied terms. I think I think it's a loony kind of thing to want to do. I think the saner and rational approach to life is to survive steadfastly and create a protective home and create a warm, loving environment for one's family and get food for them. That's about it. That's actually all. Anything else is extra. All culture is extra. Culture is, that's, I guess it's a freebie. It's something that we only need to eat. We don't need particular color plates or particular height chairs or anything. I mean, anything will do, but we insist on making 1,000 different kinds of chairs and 15 different kinds of plates. It's unnecessary, and it's a sign of the irrational part of man, I think. We should just be content with picking nuts. Not mine, I might add.
You've said a lot of wonderful stuff here today, and I believe all of it, except for what you told me during the commercial.
Go on.
Iman didn't really get up this morning and iron your outfit.
Darling, will you phone in immediately? And it's very well ironed.
I thought it was exceptional.
She got up 6 o'clock this morning and she ironed my clothes.
Why do I have a difficult idea envisioning that?
Hello, darling.
She
I'm
really
sorry,
did.
I had to tell the truth. I cannot tell a lie.
Interesting.
Anymore.
Marriage is working out fine. David, it's always good seeing you. Take care of yourself.
Thank you so much.